Kia ora everyone, welcome back to The Curious Healer. My name is Dana Marie and today I am graced with Rebecca Gambles. Thank you so much for coming along and joining today.
You're welcome.
So I met Rebecca on my wellness tour and we were just traveling around the country and I had this amazing experience in Kaikoura where I just had this whale and dolphin like both immersed after a beautiful meditation, and then the next thing I know I'm driving into Christchurch and someone goes, "You've got to see this lady, Rebecca." And I was like, okay, who's Rebecca? So Rebecca is an animal communicator, psychic medium, and an incredible healer and coach and mentor working in all the different multi-dimensional levels. So it's just incredible that we managed to cross paths. It was like an instant, let's grab a coffee, everything just flowed, and it's been amazing to get to know you a little bit more, and I just thought, how perfect, we're going to share with more people because it's not a normal medium. So when we say animal communicator, people are like, oh yeah, I talk to my dog, hi, yes, no, blah, blah. But can you explain that a little bit for everyone, because it's quite an incredible gift.
Yeah, so when I say animal communication, I'm talking about telepathic communication with animals. So a lot of people think I'm talking about behavior, like training the animal's behavior. I'm talking about telepathy. So I'm linking in with the animal, I'm talking to their soul, and they are communicating with me through words, images, feelings. So I'll receive all of that all at once, and I'll be asking the animal questions and they'll be responding, and then I'm translating all of those all at once to the owner of the animal, depending on what they want to know. So obviously people want to find out why their animal's behaving in a particular way or why they've got a physical problem showing up. So those are usually why I'm doing a one-on-one session with an animal, is to determine why the animal's behaving that way. So
and amazing, it's such an incredible thing that I don't know, I hadn't personally even come across someone that was so profound in this animal communication space. And how did that come up for you? Was that a childhood thing, or tell us a little bit about your journey?
I think I've been communicating with animals since I was a child, because I used to have this pet rabbit and everyone was just blown away by my communication with this rabbit. It followed me everywhere. It used to go to the shops with me. People would come round and ask to see my rabbit. I had this profound connection with my rabbit.
What was its name?
Frisky. It was very frisky as well. It lived up to his name. But it was an amazing rabbit. And so looking back now, I definitely was communicating with that rabbit. But at the time, I thought it was normal. I thought everybody communicated with animals, because as a child, if it's an innate gift that you've got, you just think everybody can do that. And I could see spirits as well. So I was just like, oh, this is normal. And then over a period of time, you kind of learn that it's not normal. And then you, in an attempt to fit in, you shut down your gifts. And so my animal communication didn't come back online again until maybe when I was 30, I think, maybe 31, something like that. And I trained in angelic Reiki, and I had the cleansings and attunements, which is basically creates a shift in your frequency and accelerates your spiritual gifts. And straight after my angelic Reiki attunement, I was sat in the kitchen of my angelic Reiki teacher's house, and I thought I was alone. And then I just heard this voice in my head, "I've got a sore leg." And I was like, I don't have a sore leg. And then it happened again, I've got a sore leg. And I was kind of looking around the kitchen, there was no one there. And then I looked down on the floor and there was a cat just staring at me. And again, the message came in, I've got a sore leg. And this was the first time I'd communicated with an animal consciously as an adult. And I was like, wow, okay. And then I spoke to the teacher and said, does your cat have a sore leg? And she's like, oh yeah, he's been limping. And then the cat just said, it's connected to a past life. Can you please clear my past life? And I was already doing past life work with people. So I was like, okay. And just ended up doing this healing on the animal. And then the animal got better. And then I was like, okay, this is a thing. Initially I thought maybe I'm going insane. And then I realized it's a thing. And it can help.
Ask, what were you doing at the time? Were you in a normal modality of work, or was it was that kind of an abstract thing that came into your world, or you're like, oh, I know this, or you're already on quite a journey around the space?
Yeah, so when I was 28, I went traveling, I had a huge spiritual awakening, so I had read loads of books on mediumship because I started seeing spirits again. I read books on healing because I was having like this burning sensation in my hand. So I'd already kind of explored all these different things, and I was reading about past lives. So I'd already trained as a past life regressionist. I trained in access consciousness. I trained in Usui Reiki. So I was on this spiritual awakening, and I was offering sessions to people. But animal communication wasn't really on my radar. I didn't think it was a thing. I just thought this, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. And then, from helping that cat, and then other people reached out, and I was like, okay, I can give it a go to help your animal. And then I started having amazing results, and I was like, okay, this is a thing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's you became internationally renowned as an animal communicator, which is amazing. And then you started dabbling in it, and how did it progress? Like, I know there's a real fascination or work that you're doing with the dolphins and whales specifically. Is that a personal passion, or what's your calling into the space of work?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a passion for dolphins. So when I was traveling, I ended up in Monkey Maya in Western Australia, and I would just go and swim in the ocean there, and the dolphins would just come. I'd be on a break from work, and the dolphins would come and swim with me, and I was like, this is incredible, this is an amazing life. And so I've always loved dolphins since that moment. But yeah, when I came back to live in Nelson, I just got the message one day from the dolphins, because you can tune in with wild animals telepathically as well. They said, we want you to start bringing people into the ocean. We want you to run retreats, and we want you to bring people to the ocean, because dolphins have huge healing capacities. So to take people swimming with the dolphins, they can then receive the healing from the dolphins. So yeah, I kind of got the message that I needed to start running retreats, and then I wanted to do it straight away. And I started looking into retreat centers and where I could do it. And it actually took me a few more years before I started running retreats. And it was interesting. I was supposed to go on another animal communicators retreat with dolphins, because I wanted to meet her and I wanted to see what she was doing. And she actually ended up retiring before I could go on one of her retreats. But then I got offered the opportunity to work with the company that she was working for to run retreats. And when they offered it to me, I immediately went into, who am I to do that? All the sabotage came up of nobody knows who I am. She's written a book. I'm not good enough. And so then I had to go and work through those things before I could then step up and start running my own retreats.
Yeah. It's such a journey, isn't it? To have your gifts as a child, suppress them for so long, and then come into this space where, okay, you're reintroducing them and you're excited by it, but it's still not really normal. So you have to really push through so many of those barriers, huh? Yeah,
and people still think it's weird, or initially I got a lot of pushback, that's not a thing, you're literally going insane. And but the more comfortable I've got with it, and the more I'm like, actually this is valuable, and recognizing how much I'm assisting the animals, the less pushback I get. So it's the less judgment I have on it, the less I receive as well. So
now, I'm also an absolute dolphin lover, so I want to dive a little bit further in there with. So you're getting these messages from these incredible creatures of the ocean, and not just dolphins, but specifically. And what is it? What is it about their healing and their interaction? They're calling us to have more encounters with the ocean. I've done quite a few things along the wellness tour with this real pull to ocean. Connection for us as humans. I just wondered if you could touch on a couple of points there.
Yeah, so I feel like the dolphins are very multidimensional beings. They're very high vibrational animals, and each animal has kind of a purpose, but for the dolphins, they do seem to have a huge healing capacity with humans. I'm sure with everyone, but particularly with humans. And so when you swim with the dolphins, they can scan your body and see where you're holding energy, where you've got energy blocks. They can actually activate your junk DNA through their sonar, so they can send frequencies through your body to give you healing, and also to activate your dormant gifts. So it feels like they're here to help with our ascension process. And so it feels like, they're welcoming us to the ocean because they want to be able to gift that to us. And I feel like people, not everybody would be open to maybe going having a healing with an energy healer, or, doing the spiritual sessions, but to go and swim with the dolphins, that's it's kind of a 3D thing to do, but it's also very profound experience to have with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like, and I think that's why people who are often diagnosed terminal often will go and choose to swim with the dolphins. And I think it's because on some level they sense that the dolphins can bring healing to them through their conditions. And also, you know, many people want that experience as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're amazing creatures. Yeah.
It is incredible. Like I don't know what it is about dolphins. I always remember loving them as a child, and still do. But there's something that just like, as soon as you see them in the ocean and them like majestic space, it's just this inner joy. Like it's just you know, it just brings out this happiness and this purity. And I feel like that's like quite a longing sometimes in the other everyday realities. Just like,
It's interesting though, because the last time I went to see the dolphins, they said the joy that you feel when we show up is the joy that we feel when you show up. So they love to see us as well. So they're like humans and we're like dolphins. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So they want to be with us as well.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. The reminder of they give us the reminder of playfulness and everything. And I imagine we give them some stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm sure we do. Yeah. Yeah.
Always. Oh, that's so cool. And so just let's continue on this, because it's just, you're doing such profound work and you're helping so many people and animals along their journeys and supporting their healing. And how does that, like, have you got some examples of, you know, your dog with the leg, but have you got some other examples, that things that might have surprised you along your journey that you're like, you know, well, I didn't expect that animal to tell me that, or, you know, anything like?
I mean, I've had so many incredible sessions. Like I feel like I wouldn't know where to start really. But yeah, I had one of the sessions that will always stand out to me was a sheep. And the owner contacted me and said, we're having an issue with our sheep. And I was like, okay, what's the problem? And they said, she keeps breaking out of the field and she keeps going to the house and breaking into the house and sitting on the couch. And I was like, okay, I've never heard of this. And so when I spoke to the sheep, I said, you know, what are you doing? And she said, I'm a human. And I said, no, you're a sheep. And she was convinced she was a human. And I said, where have you got this idea that you're a human? And she said, I'm actually the reincarnation of the baby that the lady lost. Oh, wow. And this lady has given me permission to share this story because it is a very profound story. And basically the lady had lost a baby and the sheep had been born not that long afterwards. And the lamb's mother had died. And so the lady ended up hand-rearing the sheep. And so there was this healing process that went on with her and this sheep. And the sheep said, I'm actually going to be her baby again. And so it said, when she's ready for a child, I will pass as the sheep and I'll come back as her baby. And so basically we had a conversation and I said, okay, well, I understand that, but for now you're a sheep, so you need to go and live in the field with the other sheep. And so she did. And she stopped breaking out of the field. But interestingly, I hadn't heard from that lady. And then the other day I was thinking, oh, I'd really love to know what happened to the sheep. And she ended up booking me for a session. And I was like, oh, you're the owner of the sheep. And I said, how's the sheep doing? And she said, oh, she actually passed, but she's now my second child. She's reincarnated. And I was like, wow. So I actually, I get goosebumps sharing the story. So that was probably one of the most profound experiences I've had with an animal communication, because a lot of people believe that animals only ever reincarnate as animals, and they don't. Like they can have been human before, they can be human again. So sometimes the babies that we're going to give birth to will come in as our pet first to prepare us and to see if we're going to work well together before they come back as our child. And also the other way, if you lose a child, sometimes that baby can then come back as your animal, so that you can still have that relationship with that animal. So that was probably a really profound communication. Another one I did with a cat, which was just up the road from here actually, and that cat told me that it was an ascended master in a cat's body and that it didn't need to reincarnate this time because it didn't have any lessons to learn, but it was here to teach its owners to meditate. And the owners had said, you know, there's no issue with the animal, we're just curious what the cat wants to say. And they said, oh, but could you tell us why why the cat keeps throwing up its food. So I said to the cat, you know, they said basically the cat goes into the kitchen, it eats, and then it goes outside and throws up the food. So I said, why are you doing that? And the cat said, oh, I don't require food. Like I'm such a high vibrational being that I only require water and sunlight, so I don't require food. And they said, but my owners get so anxious that I don't eat, that I just eat for them. So literally I go in the kitchen, eat the food, and then I vomit it outside because I don't need it. But I'm just trying to help them feel better. Wow. So I was like, wow, that was another one that really stood out as a very unusual communication. Because, you know, sometimes animals are just talking about more normal things. Although generally most of my sessions usually involve some kind of past life exploration, or there might be a spirit coming in to communicate as well. So there's usually something that's a bit different. But those two sessions really stand out as really unusual sessions. Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Like, I mean, even from just a learning perspective, I guess we don't always think, like, we can kind of identify, some people can, some people choose not to, in terms of your past lives, but the animal segues of things, I don't think it's even crossed my mind, I guess, in that space. That's really fascinating. So
I mean, we reincarnate with people over and over again, but we reincarnate with our animals over and over again. And that's why, you know, animals come into our life for a reason. They have a contract with us to come in. So we didn't just accidentally end up at a rescue shelter or a pet shop or whatever. You know, that animal was contracted to come in at that time. So you'll get that inspiration of, I need to go to this place today, and then you'll meet your animal because that animal knows that it's coming for a reason, whether it's to support you through a loss or to be a support animal or a companion animal. They've always got some kind of purpose with us. And sometimes they're mirroring our own things as well, so that they might be anxious, you might be anxious, and they'll kind of mirror aspects of yourself back to you, but there's always something playing out.
It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because there's like that familiarity and that sense of, like, you know, when you meet someone around the world and you're like, oh, I know you, and same with an animal, it's like you've got that bond. And then, you know, some people have feelings like they used to have a past life as a bird or a this or a that, and so it completely makes sense. We just don't necessarily talk about it.
And it's interesting because your animal can literally reincarnate again and again and again. So you could have an animal in your childhood, and then that animal can just, when it passes, just literally reincarnate into a new body. And then, like, you could literally have the same animal, you might have given it a different name, but it's the same soul traveling with you through life. So sometimes when I talk to animals, they'll give me their previous name. So they'll say, oh, I'm Fluffy, and then they'll say, oh, that's not Fluffy, my previous cat was Fluffy. And I'm like, oh, well, it's the same soul. They're letting me know that I used to be Fluffy, and now I'm this cat.
Oh, that's fascinating. Actually, just what I thought then was, when we were really young, my granddad, who's passed, had a dog called Doobie, and my brother just loved this dog, and now he's got a dog called Larry, but he feels like it's a similar soul spirit to Doobie, and you've just completely confirmed that. Like, oh, okay. It's incredible.
There's a really good film, what's it called? The Dog's Journey, is it? Something like that. That's about the dog that reincarnates again and again. In like with different people, but it's always trying to find its way back to its original owner. It's such a good film. Wow. And I watched it and I was like, yes, that's what I'm doing. That's the work I'm doing. It just confirmed, like, that's what's playing out with the animals. Wow. And because of that, because when the animal knows, like, okay, this body is getting old, I'm ready to leave this body, it doesn't have a strong opinion on death, because it's like, I'll just leave this body and I'll reincarnate again and I'll get a new body and then I'll come back and find you again. So I'll pass as this old dog and I'll come back into the body of a puppy. But for us, obviously, we grieve that animal, but the animal's like, I'll be back. I'll be back in a few weeks. Don't worry about it. You know, they don't have a strong opinion on death like we do.
Amazing. So how is it like in the mind of the experience of someone that can telepathically talk with animals? Like, if you're walking, there's so many dogs on the beach, can you, or do you just tune in, or do they just pop in little conversations when they feel like it? How does that work in the experience of your world?
I'm not talking to every single animal that I see. Like, I had a partner that used to think that. He'd be like, what's that seagull saying? What's that seagull saying? I'm like, I'm not talking to every bird that I can see.
Yeah.
Just like we can talk to people, but we don't walk down the beach going, hi, how are you doing? Hi. Just because you can talk to everyone doesn't mean that you will talk to everyone. So it's the same with animals. And for an animal, if I'm going to have a communication, I'll ask permission. Like, hey, do you want to have a conversation with me? Because just because I can doesn't mean they want to. I mean, interestingly, most animals are keen to have a conversation because they're like, wow, you understand me, I want to talk. But occasionally, I had one cat that told me it was far too busy to talk to me because it was doing work on the retreat centre that it was working at. And that was the only animal, actually, that said it was too busy to talk to me, which was quite amusing. The bird just joined us outside. But just because I can talk to them, it doesn't mean I'm just walking down the beach talking to every single animal. Like I'm setting the intention when I want to have a conversation. Otherwise it would be exhausting. There's animals everywhere, so
And so when you look at your so you do a lot of work with residential animals and people, but when you're looking with conversations, do you sometimes just get messages like, I need to engage with the whales at the moment, or I need to how does that work?
With wild animals, you mean?
Yeah, because they must sometimes have things to say.
Yeah.
It's how does...
I mean, farm animals, for example, sometimes I find them hard because I'll walk past a field and maybe there's a sheep there and it's like, hey, where's my baby? And then I'm like, oh, I don't know how to explain this to you. So those kind of animals I tend to try and avoid. I'm talking to, I'm just like, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. But I mean, with dolphins and whales, sometimes the consciousness of them will come into my awareness and that will be kind of how I know that they want to have a communication session with me. But usually I'm setting the intention in a meditation to go and connect with them and communicate with them. With wild animals, it may be like if I'm out and then I come across a wild animal and it might want to have a communication with me then. But in general, they're not just coming into my awareness to talk to me. It's usually I've seen, say for example, with the whale strandings, if I see that they've stranded, I will then consciously connect with them and say, hey, is there anything I can help you with? Do you need to communicate a message to the collective? I will consciously tune in with them. It doesn't tend to happen too much the other way.
Well, that makes sense. It's a bit like what you're saying with how you kind of intuitively come and meet your dog at the right time, the right place and stuff. It's a bit like that with communications. You just it comes up as it needs to.
I guess it would be overwhelming for my life if I was just sat having dinner and then suddenly random wild animals came into my awareness saying, I need to talk to you. That would be probably quite invasive. So that can happen with spirits a bit more, but with animals, not so much.
That's fascinating. I'm just trying to think so if we were going to talk a little bit to a general audience, and there's all these realms of possibilities when it comes to communications with animals, telepathy, healing, past lives. Is that something that you believe is accessible to everyone, or is it I know everyone's got gifts, but there's also something within our human nature that can develop into this space a little bit more, do you think? Or
I mean, I feel like everyone has the capacity for telepathy because that was used to be our natural language. So we've shut down our own telepathic abilities, so I do believe that we can all open up those telepathic abilities again, and many of us will be using them without realizing it. So when somebody is phoning you, for example, and you know who it's going to be before you pick up the phone, you've already felt their thought forms to phone you and connect with you, and then you felt it before you pick up the phone. I also came across a woman at the SPCA, and she was very good at communicating with animals, and she didn't realize, so she was naming the animals, and she named this one cat Chili, and she said to me, can you go and find out what's wrong with Chili, because he's acting really weird. And when I went to his cage, I said, what's wrong? And he said, I'm chilly, I'm cold. Can I have a hot water bottle? I mean, you don't really specifically ask for a hot water bottle, but he said, can I have something to keep me warm? And I said to her, you named the cat Chili, but he is chilly. He's cold. And so she'd received that communication and presumed that was his name, but consciously she didn't realize she was communicating with animals. Yeah. So I feel like that's an example where, you know, you might be sat watching the TV and suddenly you think, oh, I wonder if the dog's water bowl needs filling. And you think that you thought of that, but the dog is actually saying, hey, my water bowl's empty. Can you come and fill it? And so you're receiving that telepathic communication from the dog, but you don't realize, you think you just thought of it. So I feel like many of us are intuitively telepathic and communicating with animals already. And some people it will be stronger than others, and some people will have a strong desire to learn, and other people won't be interested. And I feel like that's just, you know, part of where you're at on your journey in your life. And for some people, an animal's an animal, and they don't consider it to have a soul. Whereas for me, I feel like animals are just as evolved as us. And we're all journeying together in this like awakening, this collective awakening. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think we all have the capacity. It's whether we have the desire to work with it, because your psychic and intuitive gifts, it's a practice. So it's a bit like going to the gym. You wouldn't go to the gym and work out once and then that be it for the rest of your life and be like, right, my muscles are good now. If you want to build your muscles, you would keep going to the gym. And so it's the same with your psychic abilities. If you want to build them, you need to keep practicing. Practice it doing the different exercises. It could just be simple as like, you've got a pack of cards and you know you're going to turn it over. What color is it, or what's the number on the card? And just keep practicing, and that gift will strengthen from doing these simple exercises. Or the phone rings, I'm going to guess who it is before I look. Yeah. And so you start to strengthen that ability. I'm about to meet somebody. What color's the top that they're wearing? And just start practicing tuning in, and the gift will get stronger.
Yeah, I love that you touched on that, and thanks for that, because I feel throughout my own personal journey that there was quite often a lot of these thoughts, and maybe I might not have labeled them as, you know, insights or channeled or you know, intuition or anything, but because the world and the stimuli was so busy, so often I just dismissed. I'm like, oh, yeah, and it's amazing, because I realize there's actually value in all these little thoughts. If, you know, not obviously if everything's pinging at you all at once, but like to actually acknowledge them as they're coming through. And there's quite a bit to learn as human beings that have sort of suppressed that for so long. Yeah. As it's too voodoo, as the common one, or woo.
It's a natural gift. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And I think when we put our distractions away, because the phone's a distraction, all the technology and everything, but actually if you go and sit out in nature without your technology, I've noticed my gifts get way stronger. Yeah. Because you're more inward, you're listening, you're more open to receiving those messages. But half the time we just don't even create space. And that was actually why my gifts awakened when I was traveling, because I went from being a workaholic and working 3 jobs and just working all day and night to quitting my jobs, and then suddenly I'm traveling, I'm in nature, I'm swimming in the ocean, I'm doing all these amazing things, but my gifts awakened very rapidly. And it's because I had space all of a sudden. Yeah. I wasn't distracted, and everything just came back online.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I think an element of that as well is when we are so busy, we don't necessarily have that interconnection with nature. Yeah. Which we are, but that symbiotic connection, because a lot of the feedback and a lot of those spaces where we need one another. Yeah. And it's quite fascinating because you know, you kind of have like the city, the concrete, the everything, the shoes on, like
that disconnect us,
yeah, and then we spend so much time just in one modality of brain, right? Like rather than all the feeling and the intuition and the space that comes through it. And it's I don't know, I think everyone can recognize when they go to the beach, they breathe, like they feel something, you know. And it's sort of not just like training your thoughts, but it's also training these connections, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know where I'm going with that one.
That's okay.
It's just a chat. Just, you know, we're probing thoughts and thoughts and thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the animal space is such an incredible one, because like you said, they've got so much to teach us, but even you do a lot of work with humans, right?
Yep.
As well. And so, most journeys have healing, or like, what kind of support are you finding that is done within your workspace?
What kind of support?
Yeah, like either people are looking for, or how you can help them, or like what's the work in that space. If someone was going to say, like, I need work for my animal, but also, hey, like, Rebecca, how can you help me in this space?
Well, just to complete with the animal, I find often people are more inclined to pay for a session for their animal than they are to book a session for themselves. So, people might have awareness of, like, maybe they've got anxiety or they've got things going on, but often they'll just, they don't want to spend the money on themselves. But then when the animal starts mirroring that energy back to them, they'll then book a session. And so what's interesting is when I go to do an animal communication session and I say to the animal, I notice you're anxious, the animal said, oh, I'm not anxious. My owner's anxious. I'm just taking the anxiety from them and mirror it back to them. And so they say, actually, the session is for them. So interestingly, the people pay for the session for the animal, and then I'll get there, and 95% of the time the animal's like, I'm good. Please do a healing session for my human. Yeah. So then with a person, whether the animals booked the session for the human or the humans booked the session for the human, it could be anything. It could be things that people seek help with. It could be all sorts of things: relationship issues, money issues, physical problems, anything really. And that could tie in with childhood trauma. It could tie in with past life experiences, experiences they've had in this life. The Pleiadian Lightwork is the most powerful healing that I do, which is a multidimensional reading of the soul. And so that's clearing soul contracts, limiting beliefs, past life energies, entities, things like that from the energy field, clearing programming that you've had in this life and past lives.
So just to touch on that, because that's incredible work and multi-layered. When, like, I'm having a human everyday experience, there's things that are like cycling or repeat or feelings, like how do we know that we need that kind of work done?
It's a good question. So with the past life aspect of it, I find that because with past lives, we tend to repeat the same situation again and again and again, sometimes with the same people. And you might get to a situation where you're having some kind of experience and then you feel like, I think I've done this before. There's like a sense of deja vu of like, why do I feel like this has played out before? And then often people will then come across past life regression or past life healing as it will come into their awareness. Maybe they'll read a book or they'll see a sign. And then I find that people come for a session right at that pinnacle moment where they were about to make the same decision that they made in a previous life. So there's almost like a turning point in the life where you can go this way or you can go this way. Yeah. And depending on what you choose, depends on whether you kind of completed the lesson in the way that you want to. So with the past life work, I find that people often just have an inspiration to go and have a past life session. And usually it's because something's playing out that has played out before, and they're at a choice point. And then once they get the wisdom from the past life of like, oh, because I chose that then led to this, they can then make a different decision in this life. So it reminds me, like when I was a book, when I was a child, my favorite book was Choose Your Own Adventure. Yeah. And like you read the page and it's like, if you want to hike the hill, go to page 2. If you want to, and then sometimes I would want to flick to the end to see if I survived, if I climbed the hill or did I go towards the bear? But it's kind of a bit like that with past lives. It's like every choice dictates your timeline. So it's like, what are you about to choose now? And so when you go back and get the past life wisdom of where you kind of wished you chose differently, you can then choose differently in this life. So with the past life work, that's why I feel people suddenly have an inspiration to explore their past lives. They might think, oh, I'm just curious about who I was or what country I lived in. But usually, even without them realizing, there's a deeper reason that they've come for that session. With regards to the other things, I get a lot of word of mouth people come in for sessions, so they might have a friend who's come to see me and they said, oh my God, I cleared this physical problem, or you know, and then that might propel them to come and have a session. Or maybe there's just something that they just can't seem to change. You know, they've gone to the doctors, they've gone to see lots of different other modalities, and then they decide to look at the energetics. And it's interesting because one of the things I hear a lot is, I've tried everything else and you're my last resort. I hear that a lot. I don't take it personally. I'm just like, okay, because maybe they've tried all the physical things and it didn't shift. So yeah.
I like that. And I want to loop back to what we had said earlier, because it's exactly what you keep repeating as well, is it comes across your path when you're ready for it, or when it's ready to be, you know, and when that choice is. And it is funny. There's two aspects. I'll only put my animal first. I won't put myself first, which is a huge hindrance of our own healing experience as human beings. But also the one that goes, I've tried everything first, but perhaps it takes that exploration of everything else to have a readiness to go. What else is there? What is? Because we're curious by nature. Aren't we? Just like,
and they've spent so much money beforehand on other things that they didn't work, and then they're like, okay, well, almost like they've got nothing left to lose now. Okay, I'll try this.
Oh, it's so cool.
Love
it. And then I always loop into a little bit about like your own personal space and your journey and wellness space, and if you don't mind touching on a little bit, like just anything that you have like about you and your life that might help motivate or inspire people to be more curious in the wellness.
I mean, so I touched on it a little bit before with regards to, you know, I was in England, I was a workaholic, I was drinking alcohol, I was doing lots of things to suppress my gifts, and then when I went traveling, my gifts awakened very rapidly, and it was quite scary for me because suddenly I was seeing spirits in my dorm rooms. And I was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do here? You know, if I was around somebody that was sick, my hands would burn. Like it was like I had flames on my hands, and then if I put my hands on them, they said they got better, and I was kind of like, what's happening? Like what's happening here? And then I started having premonitions, like predictive dreams. So I kind of had, it was like I didn't have anyone to mentor me or to guide me through it. So I then just started reading hundreds of books, basically because I didn't have the support of how to manage spirits just waking me up in the night, telling me to tell their sister something. And, you know, I'm laid in bed just going, I don't even know who these people are. So I got very overwhelmed with the spiritual awakening, which I feel was part of my journey for a reason, because I then had to kind of teach myself in a way, and then I started finding courses. So I trained in past life regression, I trained in Usui Reiki, I trained in different things. And now, interestingly, I meet people who are going through an awakening, like, what's happening to me? I don't understand. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I can now mentor you because I've been through it myself. So I understand what it's like to suddenly have spirits talking to you and you don't know where they came from, or, you know, how do I set boundaries with the spirit world? Because they don't need to sleep, so they can talk to you all night. So, okay, teaching people to set boundaries and to, you know, to say yes and no to spirit as well, for example. So, yeah. And then, you know, also doing my own healing work from my own traumas from this life, my own traumas from past lives. I've really explored a lot of my own past lives as well, and like how that's played out in this life, how that's affected me. So, like I love, you know, I love what I offer, what I do. I love seeing the shifts in people when they have that awareness of like, oh wow, that's why I do that, and then they can change. And I love it. And I love seeing the shifts in the animals as well, when it can literally be immediate, like as soon as you've told an animal, hey, you don't need to do that. Like, I know you thought that was your job, but it's not your job. They literally shift their behavior straight away, and it's incredible to watch. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's really inspiring. Like, it's really inspiring to know the potential that exists within that space. Like, and there's so many animal lovers out there, and some aren't, but like just that ability to really heighten connections and what's possible, and then have an expert like yourself that can go, you know, there could be repetitive problems that are happening that are just messages and signposts for your learning, and it's not necessarily something wrong.
Yeah.
But it's just this
because the animal will often say that there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they're playing out past life scenarios, so they can be doing something again and again, like repeating a behavior, but they're saying, hey, do you remember that we used to have this past life together, and this is what I used to do? And so they're trying to trigger your memory of like a previous experience in a past life. And so once I speak to the animal and they say, oh, this is what happened in the past life, and this is where my human companion is still holding on to a trauma, once we clear it, the behavior can change, because they don't need to remind them of the past life energy anymore. So yeah, it's fascinating, the things they can be doing.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I keep tuning in and they keep saying there's more. I'm trying to think of more questions.
I mean, we could talk about this all day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Something I was about to say before is, because people often say, how do I know if my animal wants to talk to me? And animals will literally sit in front of you and stare at you. And that is them saying, hey, I want a conversation with you. So if your animal is sitting in front of you, staring at you, they've got something to say. Okay, and so and all of our animals are interacting with us. They've come into our lives for a reason. They're not just an animal, they're a part of that family. They've got soul contracts with that person. They're playing something out. So yeah, I guess my invitation is to be curious, and if your animal is sat there staring at you, okay, what would you like to say to me? Animals often communicate in pictures. So, you know, you can think of something like, so one thing you could practice doing is imagining an empty food bowl and then saying to your animal, what would you like me to put in it? And then just watch to see if any images come into the bowl, because that's the animal saying, this is what I would like to eat. And that's something you can practice. I used to practice when I was younger, before I even realized there was an animal communicator. I used to practice asking my dog if it wanted to go for a walk when it was in the other room. I'd just say, do you want to go for a walk? But in my head. And then it would come running in. So on some level, I already remembered that I was an animal communicator. But for me, it was just fun. Oh, wow, look, he read my mind. So you can start doing things like that with your own animal, because they're always listening. And also, they're always listening to everything you're saying as well. So if you say something like, oh, if you don't behave yourself, I'll rehome you, you can then create anxiety in that animal, because the animal will literally take it seriously. It won't take it as a joke. It'll take it as, you're going to rehome me. And so that can then create anxiety in the animal. It can create skin issues, because skin issues are connected to not feeling safe. So be careful what you say to your animal, because they're always listening. Yeah, they understand.
That makes a lot of sense. So would you go as far as saying that animal instincts are doing the telepathy thing a lot stronger than humans?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They're great at it. Babies are great at it as well. You can talk to a baby telepathically straight away. We've kind of forgotten, so we're a bit more shut down in that aspect. But obviously, there's an opportunity to reawaken that. But animals and children, they're very good, and that's why children often will tell you what the animal wants. That little children will say, "Mom, the dog wants this," or because they can talk to each other, and they'll tell you why the animal's acting a certain way, or they'll tell you that there's a ghost in the house because the children can see them. Whereas we've learned to shut down those abilities because it wasn't normal.
Yeah, and some
maybe through fear.
Yeah, some scaredness around the day, but we're finding, like you said, coming with a mentor now, which is a lot more readily available, and you know, you're a perfect example of someone that can support in that area, so that we can learn our boundaries within that and not be so afraid, because you know, as a child, it might be very overwhelming because we're so perceptive, and then it's not normal, and then redeveloping that can be a little bit scary as well.
Absolutely.
Wow, so incredible, so much wisdom, and so great to like hear more, especially from our animal friends, because you know, there's so much wellness, there's so much human focused on human space, but it's actually that interconnection of all things, the land, the animals, us, and how we're all changing and evolving together. Is that symbiotic relationship, right? Like, it's just that connection.
They're evolving with us, absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. So I just want to end a little bit here on, like, can you just share a little bit more about what you do, how we find you, and any invitations you've got to our audience to come along to anything that's coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment I'm running 8-week mentoring programs. So my next one starts in October, and that's teaching people, animal communication, angelic Reiki, past life healing, entity release, like anything that can be tailored to what you want to learn, really. And in August, I'm very excited that I'm going to be taking a group of people to the Bahamas. So my dolphin swimming retreat is named Be As One. So it's about us being as one with the dolphins, like embracing unity consciousness. The dolphins name my retreat. I don't choose the name, they do. And so this year's retreat theme is us being as one with the dolphins as a pod together. So I'll be teaching a little bit about animal communication. We'll be going swimming with the dolphins every day in the turquoise clear waters of the Bahamas. It's incredible. So that's the 23rd of August to the 29th of August. And then 2 weeks later, I'm going to Niue, which is just 3.5 hours away from New Zealand, going on a whale swimming retreat. And that's the 12th to the 19th of September. Swimming with whales and dolphins in Niue. So I've got 2 places left on the whale swimming retreat. I've got 9 places left on the dolphin swimming retreat at the moment. Yeah. So those are the 2 main things that I'm offering. And then also I offer one-on-one sessions. So you can either see me in person wherever I am, or I do all my sessions online. So I can talk to animals through a photograph. I just need a photo of them looking at the camera, and I link in with their eyes, ask them if they okay to communicate with me, and then I have a conversation with the animal and can communicate with the human at the same time online through Zoom. So I do offer one-on-one animal communication sessions and healings as well.
That's so cool. You must have clients from not just New Zealand then.
I have clients all over the world.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So to find you, it's
So my website is RebeccaGambles.com. My YouTube is Rebecca Gambles. My Instagram is Rebecca Gambles. My Facebook is Heavenly Connections NZ, and my animal page is Animal Companions. So
amazing.
Yeah, but very consistent. Rebecca Gambles is my name, and that's mainly what everything is under. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you
coming
for
on
chatting
today.
to me.
Yeah, really exciting to have you here. And so good to make new friends.
Yeah, it's so good to meet you. Yeah, thank you.